Hey, everybody. It is Self-Care Challenge Day 13. So the 13 days of our 49-day Self-Care Challenge. It's got that twisted already. So today we focus on alignment in the third eye chakra. And in my acronym of Best You, it is also Observer. I had to think about that for a moment. So I'm trying to find me here real quick so I can share this in a couple spots. Shows us live. That is great. And in the Soul Legacy Journal, the Spiritual Business YouTubers Network and Soul Legacy Academy with Iona Mead, today is spiritual freedom. Talk about alignment, right? We didn't even plan it to merge so well. Like we didn't create it that way, but how amazing that it actually panned out that way, that it worked out that way, that it fits so well. One more, and then there it is. My apologies. Hey, there she is. Hey, loves. Iona says, hey, I am here. And I waited, right? I waited till 1 on the nose. I didn't start early. So thank you for being here. We're both on time. Hello, beautiful. Thank you, loves. Spiritual freedom is huge for me. Absolutely. So I had shared with Iona that when I first, so a couple years ago, right, when we first crossed paths and I was just getting to know Iona and really learning about her system in the process and the intentional living codes, which the acronym is Cheers to Financial Freedom. And when she talked about spiritual freedom, at that point in time in my life, I was thinking more like having the ability to speak up about your spiritual beliefs, right? Or if you have what we call spiritual gifts, to be able to speak up and share about that was a sense of freedom, which is still a sense of freedom. But, when you think of society or your culture or your beliefs and values and what you're used to, and if it's different, when you come to believe things differently, if it's received well or not, right? So to me, that's what I thought of when I thought of spiritual freedom. However, as I learned more and I grew more and I healed more of my own stuff and I cleared out more of my own gunk, then spiritual freedom, my understanding and perspective of it, really came into free to be the highest self me, like free to be the true me. So me has more than one aspect. Me has a human ego aspect, and me also has a spiritual soul source guide, God unconditional love aspect, right? We're not necessarily separate, but the energies are quite separate. One is very driven by humanness, and the other is driven by unconditional love. So spiritual freedom is more about being free of all of the gunk of humanness, right, to be our true self. That is stinking amazing. Let me come back up here. Yeah, spiritual freedom is huge for me. It sure is. Because that humanness is heavy, right? So again, reflecting. So if you watched the live yesterday, and I know Iona, you were here with me yesterday, so thank you. Reflecting back on a lot of my humanness journey. And when I was stuck in those humanness cycles, when I didn't know anything different, like I didn't know there was a different, let alone to do different, right? So yeah, getting through that gunk and that humanness to be able to step into the true soul, spirit, unconditional love self is amazing. And it says, I love you so much. I love you, billions. How is it a couple of years already? I know, time seriously just flies. And it says, yes, the soul lens, yes. Very different than the human lens. So let me back up to that soul lens again. So as I've talked before, I shared before, when you think of our physical eyes, literally our human eyes, right? We see out, and that focus is away from us. So we see, which is important to be aware of, right? Especially when you're moving around, to see what your obstacles may be, or to know what path you're taking, and to be aware of that, be aware of our surroundings and our environment and such. However, when we talk about the third eye chakra and we talk about the lens of our soul, that's really that inner awareness, that awareness of ourselves in mind, body, and spirit, in all the layers, right? So through all the energies, both human and in spirit. But really looking within ourselves. It's that, again, inner awareness, self-awareness, not the focus out on everything around us, but what's going on within us. So in that aspect, I like when people talk about, like mirror reflections, because sometimes things we're projecting something out, which then is a mirror for us to see, to come back within. So it's almost a cycle of growth, because we miss it. We miss it when we're not looking through the lens of our soul, as you say. We miss it when we're not checking in with ourselves first, and we're just focused on everything or everybody else around us. Yeah, soul self. Absolutely. And it says in soul flow, it's beautiful for sure. So if you're new to this, when we talk about soul flow, I have to say that slowly or I get tongue tied. The opposite of that would look like fight, flight, freeze, as that human trigger trauma response or reactions to things, right? That's not flow at all. That's getting pushed and pulled. So soul flow means that we've cleared enough of that gunk away, right? That we're open to receive the inner guidance, to tap in and pay attention to and follow our intuition, to not, made me think again of that big red flag getting beat on the head, right? To not ignore those signs that we receive, to be open and aware to those. Iona says, for real, right? It is stinking amazing. I just love it. Iona says, the layers and energy and awakening and awakeness, right? Exactly. And we do have layers. So no blame, shame, and guilt. It's just part of the process to move through and clear through those layers. Iona says, yes, the state that isn't listen to soul guidance and intuition. Yeah, that humanness state, right? That blocks it out or doesn't hear it, doesn't see it, doesn't feel it, doesn't recognize it or acknowledge it, then certainly doesn't flow with it or follow it. Yeah, old icky humanness. Again, not blame, shame, or guilt, and not trying to completely, squash on the human there, but it's the humanness stuff. But we bring our soul into this human, right? And I say it that way because I also see us really as the soul lugging around a human body, trying to live this life experience through it, right? And I said, sorry, awareness. Yes, the state that isn't listen to soul guidance, intuition. Yeah, right. Awareness and our intuition. Hopefully I got that. So also with the alignment and talking about the inner and being aware of the inner self and the things around us and how culture and society plays a role on us and with us, right? When we're checking in to see if we are in alignment with highest self, are you aware of the differences for you? Like, what does that look like for you? So I noticed this in conversation yesterday, after this live, not this live, yesterday's live, having more of that conversation of ego versus like highest self, right? So really being aware of those two different aspects of ourselves and checking in with that and aligning with our highest self. So that might look differently for each of us too, right? Because we're all humans having a human experience. Excuse me. So for what one might think is in more in alignment, that's very true for that person, right? And what might be true for me and my alignment might be very true for me. So checking again in with that. I've tried to align with other humans before in my younger days, and it doesn't work out very well. Just saying. And it says, I agree, soul and body. Yeah, right? Because we're not necessarily separate, but yet the viewpoints are, and the aspects are, and the frequency of the vibrations. Like, again, speaking of the chakras, right? So they meet here in the heart space, but those chakras that are below the heart vibrate at a lower frequency, and that's what I call more of our humanness or ego type frequency, and higher vibrate at the higher frequencies, which we call more of our soul or source, God, and unconditional love, that higher vibrational frequency. So there is a difference, there is an aspect of it, but the idea is that they unify, right? As we clear the energy, so figure 8 in front of the body, if you will, and they cross over, or connect or bridge here in the heart space. That energy unifies. We're not fighting itself. Or we don't want it to fight. I mean, we might. I've done that too, actually, where I felt like one was fighting the other and like had more resistance in it because I still had that judgment and criticism within myself of being right or wrong and the blame, shame, and guilt. So since I was still lugging around a lot of that gunk in my energy body, I had like this inner battle or this inner fight of myself, what I consider my highest aspect of self and my lower aspect of self. I saw them to be very different. And again, wanting one to take over and wanting one to lead, but instead of allowing the flow, like clearing the gunk to allow that, to give it space to come through, I was fighting it and not realizing that I was just creating more of that gunk, right? I was just creating more of the heavy energy. I was just creating more of the lower vibration. So I was really just creating more human ego-ness in my efforts to try to battle and clear human ego-ness. It just didn't, very counterintuitive, right? Iona says, perhaps that's why mid-cycle my vibration and thoughts lower in frequency, and I have that battle to be in the unconditional love. Maybe, right? It's good awareness to check in and kind of see. And so many things can play an effect on that, right? Like, so Iona talks about the intentional living codes, looking at how we contribute in the world. So that's just showing up as ourselves. So in this conversation, do I show up in my humanness or do I show up as my highest self, right? Our health and mind, body, and spirit. So what do we feed our body in mind, body, and spirit? What do we eat? What do we drink? What's going on within this human body? So all kinds of things happen underneath our skin, right? Like literally at a cellular level. And then we have hormones, and then how our body either creates or doesn't create enough hormone. And then how, like, there's so many factors at play. But I think each thing comes up for reasons and allows us to, it brings it into our awareness, right? So I always thought about that too, like cycle times. The week before I would rage like terrible. So I didn't notice it then because I wasn't working on myself in the same way then, that those were great opportunities for me to see what the heck was triggering me, right? Like, what's lighting the fuse? I had great opportunities to look at that and increase my awareness, but I didn't have the awareness to do that, to even hold space for it, to even acknowledge that or anything. Iona says our cycle of life is spiritual. Absolutely. Sure is. Yeah, sure is. Just like we talk about many of awakenings and layers and clearing and cycles. And sometimes we have to repeat the humanness type of cycle so that we can clear stuff out and shift it and change it. Iona says rage. Yep, been there years ago before I had awareness. Yeah, it's something, isn't it? And in retrospect, I think you would have thought, as intense as that was, it would have brought it, like it was bringing it to my awareness, and I still missed it. But my blocks were so heavy or so deep, or just that unknowing. Like, you can't know what you don't know. You just don't. You just don't. So I'm grateful for the change in that and the shift in that and increasing my knowing, increasing my trust, clearing out those layers, getting more in alignment, right? And two, I want to bring up, so thank you, Iona, this just kind of dropped in. So I work in, if you've taken my 5-day Money Blocks Clearing Challenge, the process in that challenge is to work with the energies of the polar opposites, right? So polar opposite of your chakras. Polar opposite of the third eye chakra is your sacral chakra, right? So both deal with like emotions and feelings. Sacral chakra governs more of our human, what I call humanness emotions. So that, right, lower vibrational human, fight, flight, freeze, trigger, trauma reactions. The emotions that can change very quickly. The emotions that if I sit here and start telling you about all the hardships that I've experienced in life, you know, all of our vibrations could dip and we could cry together. I can affect my emotions in that way. Just like the exact opposite, I can start to share with you all the excitement in my life and the happy experiences that I have and just how I, you know, really get in that vibration of joy, and we can all get excited together and celebrate together, right? The way that we think can contribute or kind of determine what emotions we'll have. They can quickly change, right? And then we could just keep bouncing back and forth. I don't want to ride that roller coaster and just saying it's a possibility. We could shift and change and bounce that back and forth and have that shift and change in our emotions, right? Sacral chakra. But then be mindful as females, which they tend to say that the feminine energy is more emotional or in tune with emotions, right? So the energy of water and that flow, excuse me, polar opposite, third eye chakra. Speaking of this today, let me bounce up here for a minute. Deeper inner awareness, the inner feelings, the feelings that are more not necessarily stable, but kind of like they last longer. They don't necessarily shift as quickly as our emotions do. So it's seated within us more, that soul feeling, because our soul knows more. Like our soul can see above and beyond the human experience. So what might be push and pull us on a human level, the soul's like, it's just part of it, right? Not saying that everything's okay and people get a free pass to hurt each other. That's not at all what I mean by that. I just mean that can see a higher meaning or level or purpose of it, and knows that once we are through this particular journey or experience, that there's a shift in that consciousness and there's a shift in our vibration, and there's such this level of healing, and you can allow more space for more light. Like there's just more involved, right? Beyond the humanness experience. So to tap into that more, really being within ourselves, sitting within ourselves, and addressing the energies between the two is my point. So polar opposite of third eye chakra is the sacral chakra, which governs our emotions. But if you think about where the sacral chakra is located, for again us, females, we have the female reproductive system there, cycling certain emotions. Like I said, I had experienced that rage. What was blocking that bridge and that connection, right? So I don't have an answer that I'm trying to share with you right now. I just want to bring this bridge to the awareness. So as you're working on your own healing, and you're working on your own awareness, and you're working on your own energy healing lifestyle, right? And we're using those intentions, and we're dipping in and we're tapping in to be mindful of that. So when we do cycle for women or follow the moon cycles, what does shift and what does change? Sorry if you hear that playing through the window. The mic has been amazing at reducing external noises, but that's really loud. I don't know if it picked that up or not. So even though for the third eye chakra, the color is indigo, which can range, if you look up the word indigo, from like a deep blue to an almost dark, deep purple, either way. Remember your sacral chakra that also resonates with the color orange. Sorry, I'm going to peek at that. So if you're feeling in tune, can you hear that? I'm just wondering. It's like really, really loud. Waiting for it to fly away. Can you go, please? If you feel drawn to wear orange on the Saturday, even though we're talking about third eye chakra, wear orange. That's my point. Do both. Wear orange and blue. Help those energies align. Iona says the opposite. Yeah, there is a level of polarity, right? But we're trying to unify within ourselves. Like, I think of, not that I'm going to get into a political type of conversation, but there is a thing in our society where we want to unify as people, right? We don't want to have that division. Well, that starts within as well. There is that level of, or we tend to divide within ourselves between like the humanist ego and the spirit, soul self, the lower chakras versus the higher chakras. We want to unify all of that. We're trying to clear and balance and have that all in harmony, align within. That's all of us, not just a certain few of our chakras or a few of our layers of energy. Iona says, hey to all that have joined us. It's great to see you on here today. I love this topic. Thank you. And thank you for sharing that, Iona. Iona says, yep, there you go. I go to my heart to pivot up when I am so mindful. Exactly. Yeah. 1818. Coolness. Love. It's okay. Thank you. That plane's distracting me, not gonna lie. Yeah, we can hear, but not loud. Okay. So you can't hear. But thank you for letting me know it's not too loud. So if you have your chakra healing cheat sheet, I guess in a way it's like, hey, get back to topic. Again, the color is indigo. The solfeggio frequency that aligns with third eye chakra is 852. So again, in touching on those polarities, something I'll do for myself when I use my tuning fork. So in transparency, I've not used them in a while. I'll grab both of those. So I would grab the 852 tuning fork, and I would also grab the 417 tuning fork because 417 resonates with the sacral chakra, and I would tap them to get them to vibrate and listen to them both at the same time, and pulling those, using those solfeggio frequencies to help align and balance both of those chakras, because those are the, like I say, the polar opposite ones, so to speak. Affirmations and reflections, third eye chakra, I see, right? So sometimes, like in mental health, when I did mental health and addiction therapy, we talked about to be mindful of what is around you. So something that helps you with anxiety, just a tip, is to pay attention to the physical things that you literally see outside and around you. It helps you ground into your physical body, and it helps ease that anxiety. However, for the third eye chakra affirmations and reflections, the I see, I'm going to encourage you to look within. What do you see within yourself? When you think of you, what do you see? What's in your awareness? Are you aware of certain things that may trigger you? What are they, right? Shine the light on it. Call it to your attention. And then give yourself some credit as well, right? So because if you're like me in earlier on in my healing journey, I did very well to nitpick myself very much, and I was very critical of myself. So if I was to try to start that, I don't know if you heard the bird, that was cute. If I was going to try to start that, I would be pointing out all the icky stuff I saw about myself, right? I see the rage, and I see anxiety, and I see a loud mouth, and I see this, and I see that, and I see pushy and bossy and controlling and blah, 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 blah. If that comes out, that's fine. No blame, shame, and guilt. Maybe those are some things that need to come up in your awareness, right? However, let's not get stuck there and cycle there, because we also want to bring out the good qualities that you see within you. So as you're doing the I see, think of gratitude. What do you see within you that you're grateful for? So if your humanness wants to step in and take over a little bit there, add the gratitude part. What do you see within you that you are grateful for, that you like about you, that others have said they like about you, whether you agree or not? Use it. And the element of the third eye chakra is light. So again, shining light on something, bringing it into our awareness so that we can see it. Let me come back to comments here for a moment. Let's find out where I left off. Here we go. Iona says, hope you will get the forks out on the monthly clearing call. Please, please. I can try that. And you can guys can let me know if you can hear them or not, but that would be really cool, wouldn't it? Do that along with our chakra meditation. I like it. Anna says, journaling has helped me for over 10 years with all that stuff, right? It has me too, on and off. And I say on and off, meaning because I've journaled on and off, not because the process itself stopped helping by any means, only when I stopped using it. So if you're not familiar, I think it annoys some people, but one of my favorite sayings, and it's actually stems from like the AA, what they call the rooms, is it works if you work it. Again, see, some people get annoyed by that. They hear it repeat and they're like, yeah, you just blow it off. It's just something you say, right? It works if you work it. Not like legit for real. It works if you work it. Like, break it down to a vehicle. I have a vehicle sitting in my driveway. It doesn't do a thing sitting there. It's there. It's there. I literally, physically have a vehicle in my driveway. It's going nowhere. I got to work it to make it move, right? I have to get in it and put the key in and start it and drive it. But when I do that, It works. It moves. It takes me where I need to go. Same concept. I'm laughing. Just the visuals that I get crack me up sometimes. And it says love light. Exactly. It is. I imagine like a white light, right? That pure white light of, I say, unconditional love because it's the highest vibration, right? It's the cleanest, clearest, that. And it's shining to be in our awareness, not for blame, shame, and guilt. It's not a control thing to say, see what you did, see what's wrong with you, see what you could do better, see what you could, ugh, ick, 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 ick. It's there to say, okay, look, this. Once you clear this out, we have more space for more light, right? So, another visual. Another thing I see is if we were looking into like a long, dark hallway, if you will. So in this hallway, if I'm shining a flashlight and there, I don't even want to say a whole wall, but let's just say I like to say boulders, right? There's a boulder in the way. So as I'm shining the flashlight, I can only see a short distance because this boulder is blocking my view, literally, right? Once I move this boulder out of the way, I can see past that boulder. My vision has become clearer. I can see more. I can go further. I can move in deeper. That's the same way in our healing journey. It's the same way we shine the light. Things are brought into our awareness to give us that opportunity, right? Do we want to stay where we're at and hang on to the boulder, maybe sit around and admire it for a while? Or do we want to clear it up, move it out, continue to go and see what else we find, right? Create more space. But it's that. And it is that. And it's, again, not the blame, shame, and guilt, because blame, shame, and guilt would be like packing more boulders on top of the boulder and blocking more vision and having more in our way, right? The barrier just gets bigger. We want to clear that out. Iona says truth, the car, and our soul path, right? Like it's there, it's accessible. We have an opportunity to use it, to move it, but we have to do it. We have to do it. We have to allow it. We have to work it to get there. It's amazing. So homework. Are we ready? Homework. Journal. Check in. Increase your awareness. Aware, assess, align. Just check in. See where you're at. Assess where you're at. Do you feel like you are in alignment with your highest self? Again, we don't have to compare ourselves to anybody else, right? It's just for us. This is our own check-in. We're checking within. It's not to say that we can't like buddy up and have conversations, because sometimes it's nice too, because other people can see things in us that we don't always see. Sometimes it's things that we have to change, and sometimes it's the qualities that we don't see, right? So I know have you guys done this? You get a compliment and you don't see it right away. Boulders block that too, right? Doesn't allow us to see some of our higher vibrational abilities, or we don't have the confidence within ourselves, right? So allow ourselves to receive that, which we'll talk more about receiving tomorrow, of course. So check in, be aware. What do you feel like you are in alignment with your highest self? Do you notice anything that needs your attention? So assess those situations. What is a step that you can take to get into alignment if you are not there now? So is it to continue your process of journaling? Is it clearing more stuff out? It's probably getting on that monthly call with us. I'm smiling because you are all invited to get on the collective energy clearing monthly Zoom call. It's a mouthful. First Tuesday of the month, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the link is available in the descriptions. Please click it, sign up, join us. Also, the 7-day free Chakra Healing Challenge is available, and the next live round starts the 4th week of September. Iona's links are in there for the masterclass. Get on that. YouTube, podcast, best-selling book, aligning everything together. She's got you. She's got you. Iona says, I see them now. I have confidence. Isn't that amazing? I absolutely love it. I will be there. I can't wait. I am so excited. So thank you. Yay to the challenge. Thank you. Thank you again for being here. I love you billions. Thank you to all who has popped on or come back for the replay. Drop in the comments if you feel comfortable, what you're doing for you for self-care. If you feel in alignment, what steps do you take to help you reach that feeling of being in alignment? So much love again. I will see you tomorrow. Mm.